everyone, welcome back. Today we're going to talk about energy. Now there's a lot of different kinds of energy all around us in the world, but today we're going to talk about two specific kinds of energy. We're going to talk about kinetic energy, which is the energy you get from movement, and we're going to talk about potential energy. That's energy that exists when something is at rest. So the first thing we're going to talk about is kinetic energy. So let's say I have this ball and I have something stationary, and I'm going to roll this ball and it's going to bump into that. What do you think is going to happen? Let's look. So did it move a little bit? Why did it move? So this, when it was moving, it had what is called kinetic energy, and when it bumped into this, it transferred that energy into this block. What would happen if I use a bigger ball? What do you think will happen? Let's try. Did it move a lot more? Okay, so kinetic energy is measured using both the mass of the moving object and the speed of the moving object. So if I rolled this tiny ball really fast and bumped into that, it would go pretty far. But if I rolled this ball this big ball, real slow, it doesn't move very much. So you have to have both speed and mass in order to get more kinetic energy. Okay, now let's talk about potential energy. Potential energy is when an object is at rest, but it will create energy if I let go of it. So this ball, when I'm holding it right here, has potential energy, because if I drop it, it will fall and it will bump into something and it will transfer some of that energy into what it bumps into. Does this ball, if I hold it at the same place, do you think it has more potential energy or less potential energy? It has less potential energy. So when you're talking about potential energy, you're talking about the mass and the height. So if I hold this ball way up high, and I hold this ball way down low, which one do you think has more potential energy now? We would have to actually measure it, huh? So let's go do some experiments where we look at potential energy that turns into kinetic energy. Does that sound like fun? Okay. The balls I'm using for this experiment are all made of the same material, so I can gauge their mass based on their size. The largest one will have the largest mass and the smallest will have the smallest mass. If you're using balls with different materials, you're going to have to base it on their weight. And the heaviest one will have the most mass. Okay, so here we have our experimental setup. I have a ramp, I have a platform, and I have my block that I'm hoping will be moved by the kinetic energy generated by my balls running down this ramp. First of all, for this experiment, we're going to mark our starting point for the block so that we always are sure we put it back in the same location. That's our starting point for our block. Now looking at this, we have 3 balls that are sitting up here. Remember when we talked about potential energy? These all have potential energy right now. Which one has the most potential energy right now? So the answer is the biggest one. Because remember, potential energy is found by taking the mass and the height. Right now the height is from the top of this platform to the top of our table. So all 3 balls have the same distance to the top of our table. The only thing that's different is the mass. Okay, so the largest mass has the largest potential energy. Okay, so we're gonna start with the smallest ball. I'm gonna roll it down and let it hit that block at the bottom, and then I'm gonna mark where that block moved to. And then when we're all done, we're gonna measure. Okay. I'm going to mark that, and I'm going to write small, and I'm going to write the number 1 because we're going to do this 2 times, and we're going to change the height of our ramp. Okay, so I move this block back to its starting point, My small ball is done. Now we're going to go for the medium ball. And we're going to roll it down and we're going to let it bonk into that block. Okay, now I'm going to mark where that went to. And I'm going to mark the corner that's closest to our starting point. So I'm going to write medium 1. Again, because we're going to do it twice. Now I'm going to move that block back to its starting point. Now it's time for the big one. We'll see. I did this in a couple practice runs and sometimes it went all the way off the table. So we'll see what happens. Okay, the ball went off the table, not the block. So I'm going to mark that and I'm going to mark it large or big, whatever word works best for you, 1. Now, we are going to change the height of our platform right here. Okay, and our 3 balls can go on top of it. So do you think our balls now have more or less potential energy than they had when they were on the higher platform? The answer is less, right? Because the balls have stayed the same size, but we've lowered how much space is between the top of the platform and the top of the table. So now, we're going to take our block, we're going to put it back on our starting point. Let's do our small ball again. So do you think, before we do this, let's use our brains, let's make a hypothesis. Do you think that that block will move further or not as far as it did on the first try? Okay, so why do you think that? So keep those ideas in your mind while I do this. So I'm going to roll down this ball, the little ball. Okay, I'm going to mark where it went. I'm going to write small 2. Okay, and I'm going to put this black back on our starting point. I'm done with this ball. We are not going to use it anymore. Then we're going to take our medium ball. We're going to roll it down. And we're going to mark that. Medium 2. Put our block back on the starting line. And now it's time for the big one. Let's see what it does. So I'll mark that. That's large or big 2. Okay, let's take a look at our markings and talk about why they happened the way that they did. So here is our starting line right here. For our first trial, where there was a greater incline to our ramp and the platform was higher, this was our small, this was our medium, and all the way over here was our large. And then when we lowered that platform, this was our small, this was our medium, and this was our large. Would you look at that? Our large in the second one was smaller than our medium in the first one. So why do you think that was?
Was your hypothesis right? Did you make the right guess? If yes, go for you. If not, guess what? Also good for you. In science, getting a wrong answer is okay. Getting a wrong answer just means that you get to learn more things. So why did we get the results that we did? Remember when we learned about potential energy? How this platform created more potential energy in our balls than this platform did? Well, the more potential energy an object has, the greater kinetic energy it can make. And the greater kinetic energy it can make, the farther it would move our blocks because it could transfer more energy into that block. I hope you had a great time. I know I did. I hope I'll see you all next time. Bye!